Welcome to Poland Daily History with me, Nicholas Richardson. And in this series of episodes, we're continuing drawing parallels from the past to look at modern events, particularly obviously concerning Poland. And I'm delighted to have with me in the studio my colleague Adam Starzyński. Adam, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, I think at the end of the last episode, we'd sort of reached the point where we were discussing the Fukuyama book, or the idea at least, the end of history. But I don't think, actually, fortunately for this programme and for other historians, we've actually really reached the end of history. I think the world has changed very dramatically since that book was written.
Absolutely. The 1990s seem to be a gone era, so to say. It really was a time full of optimism. The Soviet Union had just crumbled. It looked like both the Cold War, this looming threat of nuclear war and general disaster was behind us, but it was also the ultimate demise of communism. But Mr. Fukuyama took his ideas a bit further and argued that it wasn't just communism that had failed and had been defeated, but rather every type of illiberal threat to the democratic world order. Now, of course, in 2023, with Russia's attack on Ukraine, with an ever-growing and self-confident China, it feels like that was really a completely different world. At the same time, in the West, we've had a lot of doubts. The question is really when it started. Some would say it was the Iraq War, others would say it was the financial crisis of 2008. But at some point, it does feel like the self-confidence of the West was severely tarnished. Now there are those who view that the war in Ukraine is a good opportunity for the West to make up for that, and also to show potential adversaries on the stage of world politics that the West is not some lame duck or somebody that has their best years behind them. This is why it's also very reassuring to see that there is still some instinct left when it comes to geopolitics in Western nations. Immediately after the war in Ukraine started, both Sweden and Finland decided to apply for NATO membership, and finally Finland has become a NATO member, fittingly on April 4th. So the anniversary of the foundation of NATO, which was created on April 4th, 1949, when 12 countries came together, including the US and Great Britain, the two great powers of the time, to sign the North Atlantic Treaty. Now Finland became the 31st. Sweden is likely to become the 32nd, probably after the elections in Turkey, which will take place in May, and hopefully ahead of the annual NATO summit, which this year takes place in Vilnius in June. And the question is, will it end on 32? Ukraine is naturally very interested in becoming the 33rd member state. Potentially we have Belarus in the future as well, once Alexander Lukashenko is gone from power. Moldova is also applying, or at least planning on applying. So we will see. Previously, we know that Georgia also voiced such interests after having been defeated by Russia in the 5-day war of 2008. That idea has been on hold, so to say, especially during the current government, which has decided to not try to push its luck with Russia, but with a defeat in Ukraine and a Russia being weakened, who knows, then Georgia could also be a potential future member. So who knows, in a few years we might have 35, 6, 7 or even more NATO members.
Yes, and of course it's worth pointing out that soon the Ukrainian president will be visiting Poland.
Yes.
And there's been remarkable support, as we've discussed before, from Poland to Ukraine, including recently the first delivery of aeroplanes.
Yes.
Which is something the Ukrainians have been asking for a long time.
It truly is an important milestone in this war. This debate has been ongoing since last March, really, when Poland offered to send all of their 29 MiG-29 fighter jets. But back then, we were still quite uncertain where these so-called red lines that Putin likes to draw, but it turns out that they're probably being drawn in the sand.
Adam, as usual, the clock has defeated us, so I'm going to have to ask you to pause there, but we will pick it up next time. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not, if you join us next time on Poland Daily History, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story. Until then, thank you for watching.